Hello, everybody. It's 101, so it's time for the festivities of the Ask Andrew event. And we've already got a lot of questions and everything. And of course, just keep them flying. And we'll go, as long as we can, or till I give out or whatever. And just to manage some expectations, it's not like I have the whole enchilada, right? I've been working in hospice for like 30 years, and I know this much of it at this point. So, there's this infinite amounts of things that we don't know. And also, I try not to use the words always, must, never, because to me, I tend to use the word perhaps, usually, often, almost always, because there seems to be exceptions. And I guess to not phrase things like that, and you'll notice that in a lot of my writings, I just feel there's a kind of an air of arrogance that I got the whole deal. And that shuts down learning right there. So anyway, with that said, we'll go ahead and get into it, and I'll try to be as helpful as I can be. And so here we go. I probably the other thing too is that this idea of humility is such a big thing, and that we recognize that most frustrations and perceived problems in the hospice and home care world have already been solved by a minority of organizations. And just being able to acknowledge that sometimes is difficult for people, because people think, well, everyone has retention issues. Everyone has trouble getting staff. Well, no. I mean, I got two that I partner with. We got tons of people wanting jobs there. Why? Simple. People hate their jobs in hospitals and nursing homes in a lot of settings. And if you can give them a better alternative, I mean, they'll jump on your ship anytime. So anyway, so let's get into it and all that. Okay, the first thing that comes up is solving attraction and retention issues. And as I'm looking at a lot of questions that have come in, they are really in that wheelhouse. And so this is a big and deep topic. Now, with this said, everything that really MultiView is about, we're very Six Sigma, okay? If you look at it, all the awards and stuff, they all came from an MVI stuff. It's very system-like. It's very Six Sigma all over the place, and with a deep understanding of standardization. And so what's that mean? That means we were good folks to hang out with and all this. But what I like to refer to everything as is, again, I used to call them really best known practices, and we're kind of sunsetting that. Now it's best known success patterns. And I think that communicates more clearly what we're talking about. Because when we're talking about patterns, since all of nature, all of life is patterns, we're talking about habits and default thinking. And when organizations have the humility and the intelligence, I'll say, to adopt these, they gain competitive advantage, success, better life, however you want to translate it. So, solving attention and retention issues. And there's a couple places we can go for that. Let me exit out here. Because, okay, and I'll try not to do this. Again, this is the first time doing this. And I may not have set it up the way I wanted. But, here we go. And here I'm just referencing, I may have to get a little help on the screen there. Anyway, let's get down to that. Okay, the organizations that actually have, solved these types of situations, it comes down to two things. If you want to retain people, they also both tie into attracting people. And the first is environment. You know, the conditions for success that you provide people. And what do people want? You know, I mean, you can almost look at it, it's like a garden. But most people that come to hospice, the central demographic, they are spiritually oriented people. They would prefer to work with an impressive organization, with impressive standards. They would like to work for an inspiring person. So that atmosphere, and we talk so much about the 70 percentile, or the 70 percenter, I should say, that is the extraordinary clinical leader. It's being the number one thing that you focus on. Because if you have this profound person, this inspiring person, those teams tend to have very low turnover. And I can point to all kinds of them throughout, you know, the MBI's, you know, almost 27 years of doing this. And you will find in all the lowest turnover situations a profound, impressive person living an amazing life. I know that, and the problem with some best known patterns or practices is you go, oh my God. So I've got, if we have retention or turnover issues, I got to look at me as a leader. I got to look at all, or if I'm the CEO, I got to look at all of my different sites. I'll just say this, I have to get out the mirror. And I know you probably can't see this, but it says accountability. It also says, you know, your experience of life. But I got to take a look that every problem, every frustration that I have is coming from me. And the point that we get to accept accountability for our organization, where we own every number, we own every result, that is where the great transformations happen. What do we need to do? So it's almost like an AA meeting, right? One of the most transforming organizations ever. What's it start out with? The 12-step program, I am an alcoholic. Or in this, we have retention issues. We have issues or problems. Nobody responds to our ads, whatever. So we, rather than playing victim and saying, well, the external world, everybody's having a problem, all these weenie-isms. The challenge is to grow up and become that impressive organization with impressive leadership. And I'll just say this, it translates into two different forms of compensation. The atmospheric compensation of being surrounded with a bunch of winner people, not children, mature people that act like professionals and get it done, where there's the sense of growing and the sense of progress and positivity. That's what you want. Non-bureaucratic. And so the atmosphere, number one. The second is usually financial compensation. And there's tremendous things that can be done there. And a lot of times you have to have the shiny coin in order to get somebody into the organization. But once they're in, the shiny coin will not hold people. They will leave if they feel the organization is unimpressive, uninspiring, not fueling their personal development as a human being. I usually keep a half a dozen leaders in my mind that I've seen do this, these stunning human beings. Since hospice is what we do, well, I play in the same sandbox. I mean, I invest in hospices, I form, whatever. We don't have, so I can just say from a first-hand basis, we don't have issues attracting and retaining talent. Now, with this said, And this probably a lot of people go, man, that's just so generic and stuff. Well, perhaps it is, but we all know there's tremendous things we can do in there. And probably one of the first things, we got to look at our own intelligence, our energy, our integrity. And it's very hard for people to get behind a leader they feel is inferior to them or doesn't have the brain power, the horsepower to pull it off. Whatever that vision is. So there's a lot to that. And and again, I'm just looking at an NHO presentation. Let's just see if it'll pop up here. If I do it like this. There's alternative ways to do it. So the man with the IQ of 40 got it going on some level. Okay, so the loss of untalented people is good because they just bring everybody down. I'd rather have a smaller organization. Because talented people get frustrated working with a slow-moving, less talented people, you might say. But it comes down to, again, two things: providing the electric, transformative work atmosphere through the focus on these developing extraordinary clinical leaders or managers, and then pay better than other employment options. And there's a lot we can do there. There's so much money in hospices. Yet, I see, hospices folding and what have you. Anyway, we need to take more questions. I'll probably be getting back to that more because, again, attracting people, which was in there too, really has to do with how you position yourself in the market. And the types of ads, you run and all this. But the point is, it doesn't do you any real service to get that message out there about how great an atmosphere that if you want to be liberated, if you want to be empowered, this is where you come to work. And even the pay systems are set up a special way to help you in your personal development. It does you no good to get that out there if you can't do it, because otherwise you lack integrity. Now, if you're not there yet, you can invite people in the organizations and say, hey, help us build this organization. We have a dream, we have a vision for something, and we are looking for the most talented people in this community to help us in that. To help us build this empowerment culture. And I think there's a special even demographic there, just because there's so many females, and I don't mean to be whatever, and there's a great opportunity because there's a lot of females that like to be empowered. And man, I'm their leader champion, and to really gravitate that, and because, they've got a lot of tasks now. They work, they have family, got hubby to take care of, sometimes, or whatever the situation is. So the balance and giving life skills. So there's a lot there. But the point is, and also flexibility and a lifestyle. I mean, there's just lots of stuff. But the basic premise is we have to provide something that's more impressive and cooler than the alternatives. And I'll just say a lot of it has to do with, we talk about the patient chair a lot. This could also be the clinician chair. Are we helping our clinicians to feel good? To feel satisfied? Or is it just a job? You might even look at your hospice or home care as more as a ministry, as a monastery, as a school where they can learn their Zen, of how to live the unfazed life. How to not be a victim, but to be empowered. So those are just things. And let me just say this. It's not so much about, again, you want to be led by this inspirational leader. And it's not about them telling, or I'll say always directly challenging them, the people they lead, to live great lives. Because that's the lowest form of teaching. It's about actually living it yourself. and letting that come out. So anyway, that's enough on that. Let's go into some other ones. Palliative care updates on that line of business. Boy, let's see if we can get something up there. Well, there's a PDF that we have. And can somebody get me Kevin or one of the technical guys to help me out? We should have tested that out. And I got a new computer and it's a little weird. Okay, duplicate. Oh, it was there for a second. Okay. Anyway, so without that is that. But okay, so palliative care. And there's another question in here about going upstream. And I think all this is good. I think it's fine for an organization to go in these extracurricular, programs, to go into palliative care, to have home health, private duty, all the different flavors. Now, with that said, I tend not to go in the wild or the experimental areas because, frankly, I just won't want to waste my time on things that are likely not to work out. I'd rather focus on the realities of most folks, and then later on, as it's institutionalized, if someone can come and fix that, that'd be great. So, I'll tend to just stay with the tried and true. Now, we have to realize that every time we go in an extracurricular program, we are probably diluting our quality to some extent because the more business sectors that we have, the more areas that we go into, it dilutes and dissipates our focus. And focus is the enemy of quality, or put this away, non-focus, you might want to say, or having lots to manage. And this is why, again, MBI has worked with several of the largest health systems in the United States at this point. Of the top 10, we've worked with like 3 of them, just because they've seen the results of these patterns and all that. And so they want to use it in different areas. And we always have to say, hey, it's going to be not that easy because you've got 50 businesses here. You got the cancer wing. You got all these. You got hundreds of hospitals. And along with your home care and all that. And all that, you have to have that extraordinary leader in every segment that you have and the standards of that. And then how do you get them all to work together? Whether the conditions of, and use the pay system to link an organization together so that everyone basically has the same nervous system or the same bloodstream, so to speak. So the more areas we have, it tends to denigrate our quality. Now, with that said, I'm saying not to go upstream. Okay, so to me, palliative care is a logical thing. It's a loser financially for most organizations. We've only seen a couple that make it. But when we model it on a percentage of net patient revenue, it's a minus 2%. So that means if they get break even or lose 1%, they get bonused. And you put in your conditions of what the conversion rates need to be and all that. But anyway, there's a great document, and I'm probably talking too much on this first thing, called Cut to the Chase. And I'm gonna just trying to, palliative care. But here's the thing about palliative care. And you can get most of this on our website. Palliative care, really, if you want to make it work, the formula is this: correct NP staffing plus high visit production. That's what's going to equal financial success in the palliative care space. Correct NP staffing, high visit production. You're not going to get a great result just going out to a bunch of people's homes. You've got to have concentration of patients in centralized areas and all that. And now with that said, let me just add a couple other things there. this is a... And that has to do with, like, you know, when do you get your patients? Normally, you don't want to get them too far out, like 18 months. I'm looking for the exact... Okay, yeah, here we go. The sweet spot in palliative care is not 3 to 5 years out. It's 18 months out is kind of your target to make a successful palliative care situation. And then you want, of those people that fit that condition, you should expect 20% conversion rate per month. 20% conversion rate per month from that demographic of people that are really out 18 months. So that's that. Home health, again, another good business model. The margins, it's a tougher business and all that. It's going to take you 4 patients to equal 1 hospice patient. And it's hard work. And again, you got to, in your perfect visit design, you got to have these triggers that kick patients from your extracurricular program into your hospice program. So those are keys. And then obviously they have to have financial penalties, you know, the pain, if those things aren't met. Because any good compensation system has rich, it recognizes the positive, or the positive end of the magnet, but it also is balanced with the negative end, that if the standards of the organization aren't met, or the system kind of does that for us. So let's, there's that. Okay. The perfect admission visit. Okay, most of you know we don't do comprehensive admissions. You know, why? We got 5 days to do the comprehensive. So basically, our job is, and speed is everything as far as the admissions area. You know, so therefore the leader of admissions needs to be neurotic, okay? Because everyone else that's on that team, because we reproduce who we are as a leader. So if you got a hyperactive, neurotic nurse running, I mean, that is exactly what you want. And so everybody will tend to have that sense of urgency. So speed is everything, and the first hospice is on the scene wins, especially in a competitive environment. So the thing is that you get out there in your speedy little car right away, and basically your job is what? Get out there, get them comfortable, obviously get them signed up, comfortable, teach only enough to get through the night, and get out of there. Because in that system, Nurse Nancy, or Rapid Nurse Nancy, would be there the next day, and that person would do the more comprehensive assessment. And one of the worst things you can do is drop an admission into a regular nurse's day. Sometimes you have to do it with remote areas. But if you have a team, which is highly advisable, you want a dedicated, special breed of human being, again, get out there, get them signed up, get them comfortable, only teach enough to get them through the night and get out. And then, again, eye level lean in, with the patient chair, you say something to this effect. I know you just got out of the hospital and it probably feels like the world's on you. Okay, I'm gonna get you comfortable and get you in a great place, because I know you're tired and all that. And Nancy will be here tomorrow, and she'll do a more, comprehensive assessment. But right now, it's just all about you. And that works out really well. And some people say, well, our EMR makes us do this and all this. Well, go to paper for that. Have some of your clinical people put that in, the support staff, put that into the EMR if that's the problem. I wouldn't let that constipate the rapid. I mean, I'm looking at one of our hospices. When they joined up with us, they were pretty good size. They were 500. We got this going. They're at 1,300 now. Because we know that once you really get on the ball, especially in competitive environments, that's key. And so there's part of that has to do with that. I'm just saying, since I got that weird computer situation here, or something's changed on my new computer. Again, I'm just going to do this right just from my head. Okay, when planning for fundraisers, how do you model for such an event? Okay, really, to me, it depends on, in fundraising and all that, it depends on what is the outcome that we want to have. And because sometimes it's just, publicity and not so much a fundraising situation. Now, what are the metrics as far as fundraising? Well, the typical, when you take the whole fundraising area, it should be about 3 to 1, meaning that for every dollar we spend, we get $3 back. We've had some hospices go as high as 7 or 8. So, 3 is kind of the bottom line, and something above that is much better. Now with that said, there is one really great interview for one of the top fundraising people, and it is, again, on our website. It's an interview with Brenda Humfleet, who works with Hospice of Dayton. And she just did a phenomenal job. And so it's a very interesting interview that I did with her a number of years ago. But she basically came into a bankrupt situation and built up $56 million in just a fairly short period of time through a combination. And she in that interview, she goes through a lot of the different approaches that they go about. Great resource, and definitely worth a listen. Because like I say, you're just going to have a combination of different kinds of events. I will say this, and this isn't on here, thrift shops. I mean, again, I manage thrift shops. I mean, we put away $20 million with thrift shops. Normally, you have a little over a 50% profit margin if they are kind of done correctly. Again, we have a message on how to put those together as well. And it's a great service. When someone passes, you can just say, hey, just get everything out of the house and we'll sort through the rest of it. And if we find anything special, of course, we'll get in touch with you and all that. Okay, can we adjust hospital bills for Medicare hospice patients and only pay the allowable amounts, or do we have to pay them their marked up or billed charges? Okay, this just really has to do with the terms of your agreements. If you have people going in the hospital, you don't want that in the first place. So you want to have all kinds of things that, call us first and all that. Because again, our job is to keep them, out of the hospitals. But in these situations, I always pay some kind of negotiated deal. I never would pay just whatever the sticker price is. It's going to be something reduced, so yeah, I'm not going to pay the full marked up rate. It's going to be, the allowable would be the most that I would pay in a hospice deal like that. Okay, what data is important to look at when deciding where to focus marketing efforts for potential growth? Okay, the first place I always go, I look at all these mega hospices that we worked with. First thing I want to know is the number of nursing homes. And in addition to that, the number of nursing home and ALF beds. So really all your facilities, nursing home and ALFs, the number of those, and the number of beds. Why? Because that's where we stand to get our biggest gains in population. Again, we built multiple, in the thousands ADC, and that's one of the main things you look at. The next obvious is what? Just sheer population. Next is proximity. What's easy to get to without a lot of effort or travel and all that. And then probably the fourth thing that I would probably look at is it a CON area that we're looking to grow in or a non-CON? Obviously, the CON are gold because, again, you just have limited competitors and all that. And that's why those are more valuable sites and all that. You notice what's not on the list. How many hospices are there? I don't care if there's 100 hospices. We're going to go in with a quality model. We're going to market through contrast. We're going to design proprietary, systems, and we're going to really show people, and we can get into marketing later, and I think that would probably be a high value thing, because since growth comes up on here a lot, of what that looks like. But those are the main things that I look at. And then let's go ahead and let's talk just a little bit. I just got off the road with some of the hospices that we're partnering with and doing magic and the different things. Okay, let me say just a couple general things about marketing. The first thing, you are selling what? Certainty. You're selling the system, a system of care, a system of care. And product knowledge is one of the main things that you want your marketers to have, product knowledge. And what is that product knowledge? It's how to develop people. So that's why this extreme emphasis on people development is not only for, workbook number 9, it's not just for developing our clinicians to do perfect visits with perfect documentation and perfect phone interactions. Marketers have to know this, because this is what they're selling, so they know why things don't fall through the cracks and how we can go 3,553 visits without a single complaint. That's the new record, by the way. It's just that. But yet, So they'll talk about System 7, all these things, product knowledge. This is music to referral sources' ears, whether it be a hospital system, nursing home, ALF, or whatever. So you're selling, again, a system and then product knowledge, which you also could stylize as confidence. Okay? And it's always contrast. Ask any hospice how they develop people. Ask one of our people how we do a perfect visit. And you'll get the feeling they're making it up. Whereas our people go, well, thank you very much for asking that question. Yes, we have a 6-phase visit. There are 35 discrete things that happen on every visit, If we have a service failure, here are the 3 things we do. If we have a reluctant caregiver, here are the 3 things we do. And it's just a habit or a default, because these people have been trained so well in the synthetic labs. Okay, so the marketer, again, has to know that. We use cool and unfamiliar terms that have to be explained. Okay, so if I say, hey, I'm Andrew Reed, I'm the CEO and Chief Teaching Officer of Sunny Day, they'll go, ooh, what's that mean? Oh, I'm glad you asked. It's that people development is our core competence. Okay. Oh, and then we use System 7. What's System 7? I'm glad you asked. Self-learning modules, tell, show, test, practice, demonstrate, practice, certify, and this is how we go thousands of visits without a single service failure or complaint. And the whole, let me just quickly go through. Boy, this hour is like going fast, and I'm going to go farther than that. Okay, but I'll just do the fast thing. So I'm talking to a nursing home. The first thing I do, I call the administrator to schedule an appointment. I learned to leave a jarringly positive voicemail message. Hey, this is Andrew. I'm calling from Sunny Day Hospice. I hope you're having the best day of your life. I would love to sit down with you and go over some of the systems and stuff that our organization has developed. Anyway, cool stuff. Here's my number, slowly and twice. Okay, you leave that kind of message. What you want you want to do a good enough job that they say, boy, I want to meet this person because I would like to hire them. Okay? And then when they call, you don't leave your own cell phone number. They call your organization and experience the perfect phone interaction. Thank you for calling Sunny Day Hospice. And then, of course, where they never have to say their name again, they never have to repeat what they're doing. So they experience firsthand the phone situation, even when they're putting on hold and all that. That's like, whoa! And you've got them right there almost. And you haven't even met with them yet. But they're experiencing the system, the feel of the system. Then you get there, they see you in your colors, in uniform, in the look. You sit down with them, shake hands and all that. Sit down with them, eye level, lean in. And one of the first things you probably hit them with, I just got to tell you, and I hope this doesn't sound corny, but Sunny Day changed my life. I hated my job. And I finally I've got a place where, I'm really able to touch people. And the fact that we got this high quality, and it's just not making us go. It's changed me, and my soul's being fed. Okay, that's where you start. How it transformed your life. And if your organization can't say that you're transforming people's lives, you got a high turnover. Again, you got to get out that mirror. Okay, so you sit down, listen as much as you can. You drop some of your terms so you can get some of the dialogue going. Oh, that's interesting. Then you get out your proprietary system and where they see, where you're going to document the turf issues, and they see they see a big number on the back, they see whatever, and so what are you communicating? Sequence, system, sequence. When do you give baths? When do you, so you go through all this, and then when you get to the point of, do you have any patients that you're having issues with? Oh, your worst patient. Just give us a shot. Give us a shot. Okay, then here's my card, and this has your cell phone number. You call me if there's any issues. So where there's a direct relationship with that rep, you call me. My reputation is on the line. Okay, anyway, there's kind of the beginning of it. And we've got more on this as far as the whole marketing thing. And that's one thing that I'm filling out or doing some more write-ups on some of the things we're seeing in the field now. But that will grow a hospice right there. But people want dependability, certainty. And I'll just say that product knowledge, again, is key. That hey, you can count on this. And it actually transforms the marketer into a business consultant. That is, of course I'm going to let Debbie come in because she can help my medical practice. These guys are together. Or health system. What? You have problems with people calling off on shifts in your unit? Well, that can be solved. Okay. Let's keep going here. I hope that helps. Because there were a number of marketing. Okay, on call. This one actually says clinician retention strategies and managing on call. Okay, we've already hit on retention a bit, but here's the thing about on call. On call, first of all, need to be assigned not to teams, but they report to compliance. Why? Because they are the eyes and ears of compliance in the field, and I need for them to have objective views so that if something's not standard, that it can be reported up through the compliance system and then hit payroll, if it's non-standard. Okay, so that's where they are structurally in the organization. The people that do on-call should be your most seasoned people. Normally they get a pretty good, nice salary, but they got to be very competent. I mean, most of our work is done autonomously anyway, but again, the on-call is kind of a special breed. And what's the number one job of on-call? Admissions, obviously. That's the number one thing they do. Obviously, they also will do if there's a fall or if there's a death or anything like that. Those are things that usually fall under that. And they also have to be incredible at documentation because when we get perfect visits in place, from 50 to 70% of your on-call activity is going to go away. So what are we paying these people to do? Not just sit around. They need to be auditing charts. So they have a certain volume of charts they do when they're not doing admissions or doing regular on-call visit. But the point is, they have to be sharp enough and have good enough professional judgment that if they make a visit, they can say, no, I really shouldn't have had to have went there. That nurse should have prepared that family for this. Or, no, they ran out of medications. That should never happen. And that is, of course, reported up to compliance. So on call, it's a problem issue, and normally it should cost, just like admissions, about 3% of net patient revenue. And you start going above that where people have shifts of it and all that, and I got to really question your quality. Are you really doing perfect visits? I mean, let me look at your lab. Are you using System 7? What's your comp system look like? Okay. I have a meeting that conflicts with this time frame. Will there be a recording? Yes, there will be a recording of this. So don't sweat it. And I think we're going to probably do more. And I'll get used to the new technology. I should have checked that out. Okay. Staff morale since the pandemic has been challenging, re-engagement even more difficult. Again, it comes back to the mirror. So we're back to having those inspiring leaders. I used to avoid the leadership word. I just felt like there's so much kind of hokey around that, but obviously there's a lot to that. And so all those, being the profound person, the inspiring person, all important. Now with that said, I do use the word profound a lot because in hospice, we're doing profound work. I mean, we are there for the great transition from one state of life to another. And with the big questions of what's it all about and all that. And all I know is that from these best known practices, a normal person would have retired long ago. I mean, I should have, a decade ago, I should have said, hey, I've got enough or whatever. But, I think the thing is that I'm a true believer. I'm willing to throw my life away on our hospice work. And we get asked to go in other areas of healthcare, and we start going, and I'm always like pulled back because the rest of it feels like you're chasing money. And it just doesn't turn me on. I mean, it's not going to change my life. It may change some others, but I mean, I don't know. So, so profound, and the fact that it's all over the place. And we get to go into spirituality. And again, we're the only flavor of healthcare that has mandated spirituality. We are paid by Medicare to be spiritual. Whoa. Well, for a guy like me, I love it. Okay, what's working for programs? We're part of a corporation. We don't have the ability to pay based on productivity. Salaries, benefits are preset. I understand that. Okay. the comp system is not the biggest thing. Most people don't do that, even though that was the beginning of MVI. And probably almost anything is better than the way most people are doing it if you want to get results. And that's the fastest way out of trouble. Fastest way to get a positive, spiritually rich culture is to go do it through, that teaches accountability and all that through the comp system. But so one of my first moves, like I remember this large health system, I just said, hey, can you like carve us out? Because the hospice was the worst run segment of the entire health system. In 1 year, we were the number one. Because we said, hey, can you just uncross your arms a second and say, we can kind of do our own thing. But even if we can't, you probably still are paying enough of a traditional system that you can work on the more important thing, and that's the atmosphere. So I think people get just hung up on the money aspect because most of us in our heart realize that dollar just wears out. And we are looking for meaning at the end of the day, right? And you might even say this, as far as all this complaint about how bad it is out there and all that, and why we can't retain clinicians. How are you elevating meaning and purpose every day? Are you not teaching those profound things that come out of our work when it's all around us? I think it's probably easier for us in hospice to find profound things and find meaning than if we were making shoes. Not that you couldn't find it there too, but. Okay. Okay, I'd like to ask the best advice on overcoming obstacles when it comes to marketing to facilities for referrals. In instances where the medical director for a competitor is also the medical director of the nursing facility. This is a big challenge. Okay, this is basically almost an Oklahoma thing. I say that, it's all over the place, but the cesspool of hospice we used to call it, where dirty deals done dirt cheap. No, this is hard to overcome when basically the medical directors, for the hospice are also part of the facility. And listen, I've been on the side where, you can do that. And if you're in a position, and I'll just say this, it's not all about the money for these physicians sometimes. I mean, to me, you pay a fair, situation. Because I do like to have community physicians, and sometimes they just happen to already have that role. And so it's not like we haven't actually used that ourselves, and then sometimes you're going against that. So it can be really both sides. But the point is you can pay reasonable, but what you want is where they're bought into your system of care, your training systems, your System 7, your lab, the way your style, because that's going to protect them from legal issues. They don't have to worry about looking good in an orange jumpsuit because you're coming from this place of integrity and high quality, and they'll jump on your ship. But also sometimes you can find other people in that facility too, like the administrator that you get bought in. Some of them just aren't worth the effort, okay? I mean, if they're owned by certain things and they just don't refer out, I would go around them. I've also had situations, and one of them, again, I was actually chair of the board, and we had destroyed, through some really bad hires of COs, had destroyed our reputation with all the nursing homes. Okay, but then we got a great thing going there, got a new hire in there, went around and one by one built those relationships back up. And again, took the hospice census, from single digits to just huge. When I say single digits, actually double digits to huge. but winning them back through integrity. Okay. Are you hearing about hospices, from hospices about nursing homes unbundling their room and board charges and passing these costs along to hospices? Nutritional drinks, supplies, all this. And then the nursing home tells us that other hospice pays for these items, inferring that we don't, and all this. Sure, this has been going on forever. My thing is this: anything that kind of smells fishy or funny or whatever, I'm going to steer away from. I'm not going to load up their supply closet with our supplies. I mean, you know, where they keep it. I mean, sometimes there is a situation where you can do that, but it's not for the purpose of supplying supplies and stuff, you know, for the nursing home and stuff. On the other hand, you know, the staffing issue in nursing homes, a lot of them are suffering. And again, that's a great value thing if the hospice can have people there helping out. However, you know, with those specific hospice patients. However, they have to give enough volume for you to justify this. So no, unless I've missed something, you can't have a thing where basically you're buying the business, or I'll call it inducement is technically the legal term for this. So I would steer clear of that. With hospices moving upstream, what are you seeing, what's most provided by hospices? Home care, private duty, palliative care. Again, and should this be done through M&A, that is mergers and acquisitions, or starting their own? Upstream, again, the palliative care thing, I would be probably playing in that, because again, that seems to be a natural thing. Hospice is palliative care. However, I'm not going to put it out there without the systems that cause almost the automatic transfer of patients into our system. So the conditions of the comp system are going to say that basically we can't have anyone dying within certain periods of time and all that. On the palliative care program, they've got to get over soon enough, because this is the danger with extracurricular programs, is that those clinicians will get attached to those patients. They will hold on to them too long, and they will not get to the right program at the right time. And I think that's a key idea. Right program, right time. There's probably a better way of saying it. Or right care, you might say. So we actually list what those would look like, and then to the degree you can, you make the comp system enforce that for you. So if you have a home health program, same thing. I think, okay, if you get private duty down, or I mean the perfect visit down, private duty is another great thing, because you're building this high value, visit structure. And, there's a lot you can do with being very good at what you do. So and again, you don't have all the legalities that you do in some of the other flavors of healthcare. So that's something I would look at if you're entrepreneurial inclined. Again, but I still would put all those triggers that would kick people over to the right care at the right time. Okay, creative ideas regarding recruitment. Again, we run really wild ads that we go through in people development. And typically, they'll bring somewhere between 200 and 400% more respondents. But I mean, that could be, instead of getting 2 candidates, now you're getting 8. Okay, but that's one improvement there. But you want basically ads that don't look like others. Again, there's a whole sequence of how, when people are really doing these best known patterns or the model, that alter the way almost all the indirect support, from HR, how would IT support that? What would compliance be doing? And obviously, just a revolution in how people development or the center of the universe operates, because that becomes the core competence of the organization. Okay, regarding a value-based purchasing, the VBID, the MA plans, it's not in our area yet. What's your opinion on smaller hospices forming coalitions in hopes of having better negotiating power with MA plans and such? Of course, I've been doing this forever. When I got into hospice, Deborah Daly sent me through managed care. This is back in the 90s. That's why we developed all this stuff. So, like with Multiview, almost any of you right now could get your cost by diagnosis or cost by payer type, referral source, physician service, physician, clinician, team. I mean, these things, our systems have been designed to do that. Most hospices don't even touch that. Because when you're dealing with these smart guys, and I'll call them smart guys, because again, I've done all these deals in California and whatever, guys from Boston, and I'm just going to tell you right now, these are not nice cats. I've been to board meetings, just because I've been on the same boards, and I mean, guys, when they say, oh, we're going to play nice, again, you think they're just going to lop off a few fingers. They're going to take the whole hand or the arm. And so it's brutal economics. One time, I'll just tell you, I set up all this perfect visit stuff. And I said, do y'all know what we're going after here? And it's just like, they still, in a way, didn't get it. So anyway, so it's not a pleasant place to be. Okay, can hospices, especially like not-for-profits or smaller ones, get together? Absolutely. We've got all kinds of stuff developed on that. It's in the CEO program of how to put together different groups for this type of thing, as well as what are the pitfalls, what are the things that take these things down, because most of them don't last due to, empire building and egoic things and people that just aren't very good at business. I mean, a lot of times you're bringing a couple organizations together and it's like a merger between Kmart and JCPenney, and you think you're going to get a good result. Or having a D and a C student study together. You've got to have standards. I mean, this is what you're selling a system again. You have to have uniformity. You have to have kick-out policies if people aren't maintaining that. The benchmarking system is a perfect system for these types of organizations. But the thing that's ridiculous about it is that, so many of the numbers in hospice, the most elite people we have running organizations, as well as clinical leaders, don't even know the very elementary aspects. Like right now, I mean, how many of you, if I just say, again, what is the median cost of medications in the United States on a net patient revenue basis? What is it? Some of you probably just can't whip it out. I can tell you exactly what it is. It is 5.07%, at least it was this morning. What's it on a patient day basis? Again, the cost of medications. It's $8.05, $8 and a nickel. That's the professional. And so when you're going to deal with managed care people, they are impressed by people that know their business. And that's actually, obviously, why we would work with a lot of them, because we're not fooling. We measure 800 and some a month, extracting 989 data elements with 922 cross calculations. And that's where we get these practices, or these patterns of success. And you think about that, medications, that's just an elementary. Well, and what about labor costs? Well, right now it's on the increase, right? It's 42.6 or 56%. So we're up like 1% some, which is huge money. When we could have that down in a nice 38 or less, maybe in 35. But I think what we have to know is that the highest quality and the best economics that have ever existed are now. I just got back from a hospice that just blew my shorts off in both areas. So much, I mean, we have to adjust our model, probably. Or they have to have slightly different, because, I mean, how low can you go? How high can quality go? Okay, let's keep it light. Other questions?
Yep, ready?
Yeah, let's fire away.
Okay. So the question is, staffing continuous care cases has become even more challenging. A local competitive hospice has started a continuous care staffing company, physically housed inside the hospice with their hospice team, answering the calls and scheduling the continuous care staffs. What would be reasonable concerns to consider in utilizing this new company, and what do you think are better options?
Okay, is the new company, this is what they've built?
The competitor hospice has built this
as-
continuous care staffing.
Right. Which, okay, first of all, we have a tool called, again, the inpatient model, basically your tool can be used for running or staffing your continuous care. Again, continuous care is a tough thing to do, because and we do have write-ups on this, but the point is the question is, let me just say it like this. I like to look at it in increments of 100. If I have 100 patients, how many of those could benefit from continuous care? Now, if I have an inpatient unit, I might not want to go in that direction, because then you're going to cannibalize your inpatient unit, right? But if you don't, sometimes you have to, just depend on competitive situations. But, so if we have 100 patients, okay, let's say 5 of those patients we need continuous care. And then for each one of those, I know that I need 5.5 FTEs if I'm going to do a 24/7 situation. So basically, I'm going to have to hire a little over, like 22 or so FTEs to serve that 5 patients, so that we never say no, to that kind of situation. Those are the kinds of just basic mechanics that have to be looked at. Obviously, the training program, what's that look like? Because the continuous care, charting and all that's a little different, and how we go about that. The thing is, there is money in this. If you do it. Again, I've worked with, these 10,000 patient a day hospice, especially earlier when they're setting some of these things up, because that was all the rage, and so we all got into it, and all that. And so, a lot of times, you can run pretty good margins. You can run 25, 30% margins if these are done right. Sometimes it's tougher. You'll find some market conditions sometimes where maybe the clinicians' wages have been jacked up, and there's a low, core-based or, MSA reimbursement there, as we used to say, and that's offset. But you'll find that once in a while that makes it hard. And I don't know if that helped out. The point is, we do have stuff on that, and if you email me, I can get you kind of a write-up that still has some great advice on that. But we do have tools to support that.
Okay, ready for the next
Yeah.
one? Okay. Is spending large amounts of money on media advertising the best way to increase census?
No. Oh, it's the worst. Stop it right now. Waste of money. Hospices and healthcare, really good healthcare, have been built from feet on the street and relationship. No question about it, because what happens if you advertise in media and all that, basically people just, for some weird reason, when they just think we're all hooked together, so when one hospice goes up, they all tend to go up, so the water line goes up for everybody on your dime and all that. Plus, people don't want to hear about death, at least with a hospice situation. And so there's all these other ways. Again, you'll notice that in our program of the 21 proven ways of growing a hospice, proven, Media is not on there. And I've had to wrestle that hot potato out of a bunch of hospices. And one of them, they spent $1 million, and they were kind of jazzed. Hey, we're on the TV and all that. And I went in my black outfit, and I said, oh, and this is great. I was at the hotel. I saw your thing 4 times, And when did we start that? And I had this graph of census. And it's just this kind of anemic growth. And I said, folks, if we would have just taken a mere 300,000 of that and put it into feet on the street with an organized system like I've described of how you go about it, with product knowledge, using contrast, selling the system, having these jarring positive things, we would have got an amazing result compared to flushing it down the toilet practically with these media buys. Okay, next, let's keep it light.
All right,
I'm sorry, and listen, I don't know where this come from. Do not take that. I mean, you're paying for it, and I'm trying to be as helpful as I can, and so I'm not, anything I'm saying, I don't want to wound or hurt anybody, but yeah.
Okay. This is from Tammy Sue. She gives us a shout out. I attended the CFO in-person conference last fall. Amazing, by the way. Yeah. I know Andrew talked about holding managers accountable to metrics. We want our direct community managers to do a minimum of 15 ride-alongs a month. I want to include this requirement to be eligible for any bonus. My direct report said this should be a basic job requirement and not a bonus. What are your thoughts?
Okay, well, we don't put a quantification on that because different team sizes or whatever. To me, if people are getting, what's MVI say? 60-day ride-alongs. Basically, every 60 days, there's a mandatory ride-along from the extraordinary clinical leader with clinician. Because that way, no matter how many clinicians, I mean, that is standard. We find that 6 times a year is sufficient. So that's my modification, but she's exactly right that basically in order to be eligible for additional pay, again, I don't like to look at it so much like bonus, but just, your other parts of your pay. Anytime you can tie a result to comp, you're going in the right direction though. Yes, keep going.
These are big ones. Do you have any other updates or alternatives to the standard pay system, as COVID has changed our nursing availability and retention? So I'm looking for other options.
Okay. We got massive stuff happening on the compensation system, and I'm getting all the new write-ups, put together for that. Some hospices have already implemented it just because we're working so tight with them. That it's actually going in. But yes, we have, I'll say, pretty massively changed standards pay and all that. I'll hit to some of the high points right now. Okay, first of all, we used to do kind of this 5% that if someone weren't doing the standards, at least initially, the 5% would be gone. And then it escalated that they would lose their individual clinician pay or whatever. We don't do that anymore. The 5% is not sufficient. Now it is a bigger hit if somebody doesn't do it. That we're just, oh my God. And here's the point. It has to be more, because pain registers 200% more than positive things in the human psyche. You have to do it. It has to be more important for people to do the standards than not. Because this is serious. Our reputation's on the line and all that. And you're not asking anything unreasonable. And then we've also got it where it's an incremental, basically for every unit of productivity, whether it be a unique patient visited like a nurse would do, or a visit like a CNA would do, a portion of that is standard. So if they're not doing their documentation, it can be removed for every visit or every patient that is not, say, documented to the standard or whatever. Anyway, we've got, this thing is just simplified. And plus we pay people to have a great attitude. And follow through on their stuff. So those are the new additions, and it's a simpler system. I know that's probably not the detail, but this next month we're going to do a new comp workshop, and I'll have a lot of this. And of course, a lot of feedback from people that are actually doing it, because again, if those people that are doing magic or are we're working with closely, like what I call like the flagship, we usually put this stuff in almost immediately because that's what they signed up for. Okay.
And I do want to mention that February 21st is compensation tough training. So if you're interested in learning more, you can go to the website.
Yeah,
find
and
out.
also I'm not doing as many tough trainings just because I'm just working closer with, it's a big deal to do. I mean, just a lot of the traveling around and all that. So I'm just not going to do quite as many of the big, the big trainings and all that, just because we tend to be out there. And also, again, we have to be systematizing this stuff. And MVI, this is a new MVI when you really get down to it. We are reinventing ourselves. And let me just say this for everybody. I so appreciate everybody being kind of part of this network, and that you can always reach out. And again, we don't charge a lot for our normal stuff, but you might look at it like, hey, you're hitching your wagon to a peer group or a place where I can get best known success patterns. And to me, that's a high value thing. If I had that in music or really almost anything, and knowing that I can put a few of these things and make millions of dollars or just make my life so much better, but it's just, that's kind of what this is designed to, where it's a relationship that we make where it's easy for people, and there's times when you'll use a lot of us, and there's times when you won't use as much of us, and that's fine. But then it's like, ooh, man, this hurts, or you reach that point where you've had enough, and it's like, boy, today is the day of salvation. We're going to do something different. And you don't even know when those times are going to hit you, because again, life is spontaneous. So, okay, let's keep going.
Right now, this is the last one I have. What suggestions do you have to elevate meaning and purpose daily?
Okay, good question. Okay, the first thing to do if we're doing the model is you do the 3 questions. The 3 questions at every IDT or your main meetings center everybody. What is the first question? What are you? And all the clinicians and employees say a feeling. And then you call out like a master teacher would and say, what does that mean? And what do you want to hear? That it is the foundation of all memory and recall. So that gets us right back to the patient chair, centering everybody on what's important. Okay, feeling, just looking at the camera and saying, hey, it's not in there. Centering people on the emotions. It is the foundation of memory and recall. And we're designing everything to make people feel better. And again, that centers everybody, and that will help get people, ooh, this is a deep organization. They understand science. They also understand me because I'm a feeling. And also, the clinician share, if we're losing people, we're not doing a good job of helping to make or help conditions or clinicians feel better. Because that's what we are. Okay, so question number 1, what are you? The feeling. Question number 2, what do you see yourself as or perceive yourself as? And all clinicians say, a teacher. Because that's what hospice and home health, really, when you get down. We are not paid to do the care. Hospice was never designed to do the care. We're guiding them through an experience that we are most familiar with, which involves teaching. And when you look at the CAPS survey, I used to think it was 14 CAPS questions directly relate to the skill of teaching. No, it is 17. Because I just took it the other day. And it's like, whoa, there's a lot more here than I thought. Okay, and so we're being paid to teach. So we want to develop teaching skills, which furthermore supports the center of the universe, or people development, and why you want to use the best things organizations have done, as well as the best teachers that have ever lived. Okay. Third question is, what day is it? And I like day because we all know what a day is. Or, so what day is it? What day is it, Nancy?
It's the best day of my life.
And What does that mean? That sounds crazy to me.
So it means that I'm accountable, that I accept that things will come at me today in life that I can't control, but also understanding that I can always control the way I respond to those things. And so ultimately, it's like an awakening.
Okay, here we go. That's probably one of the most profound questions. So we recognize that we're a feeling, we're a teacher, but there's something about this accountability. And what do we know? Is that all growth, all serious spiritual advancement and attainments have come from people owning their lives, getting beyond the ideas of victim, and I'm just a speck of dust, just being pushed around by the big bad world and all that. That at minimum, we can own our attitude, even if we're in an iron lung because a drunk driver hit us. And there's a time when you can cry in your beer and say, hey, woe is me. But the day comes of, what can I do that's of a positive? Oh, can I make that nurse laugh when she comes in? Can I write a book? Can I knock out a master's and then a PhD? Can I form a multi-million-dollar corporation from this silver bullet that I'm in? This iron lung. And of course, all those things have been done. What did Viktor Frankl, if we're talking about meaning, in Man's Search for Meaning, that profound book that he wrote after he got out of the concentration camp, that the last of the human freedoms is his ability to choose one's attitude in any given situation. I'm so glad, I don't know, all things are divine, I think, but take a look at this. Here's a little Bernie magic. We want to get a little mojo as far as how to teach meaning and purpose. Let me try to get in front of the right camera. Isn't that beautiful? How to change your life? Where does it start? To me, in our simpleton ideas, it starts with attitude. It doesn't start actually with thoughts because you can't control your thoughts. This idea of thought control is garbage. Thoughts just appear. They're almost like gifts. If you could control your thoughts, you could say, be brilliant, and go out in the woods and be brilliant. Or write a hit song. Hey, I've tried that. But when we start to change our attitudes towards life, towards people, and especially towards negative circumstances or events, we tend to what? Have better thoughts. So just that change of attitude or energy or will, however you want to language that word attitude, that we have something to do with it. So we have changed our attitude, get more positive towards especially negative things that happen to us. We get better thoughts. Those dominant thoughts change our beliefs. Those beliefs cause better actions, and those better actions equal better results. We become what we think about. Or maybe we should say we become what we have a better attitude towards. Anyway, we went a little bit over, not too bad. There was one other question I know is, okay, yeah, go ahead.
It's a little off topic, but what is the best song you ever wrote, and which is the best you ever recorded?
Right now, to me, again, I've had one. Twisted World went to number 3 on the rock chart, on the world chart, and landed in the Billboard and all that. But If All the World Were Right is probably one of the best, and it got to 15 on the adult contemporary. I think Ed Sheeran had Perfect and all that at that time, and that's when I got to do the stuff with Sarah McLachlan and all that. Yeah, but they tend to be spiritually oriented songs, and just an update there, we're under Virgin Music now, and right now they want every song that I've ever written, and I'm not saying that. So now we're working our posteriors off to get them every asset. I just want it out there, so I'm kind of done. And it's a big work doing the music thing and doing the hospice thing, but this is all I know how to do. So that's that. And let's see. That's
everything I have here.
Okay, that's great. And there's the last question is this, and I put this one off because it's like, what what do you think life's about? And let me just say this. I think life's about a lot of things. I don't think it has any singular explanation. It's just like a multi-view. You know, I mean, we are all experiencing life as a view of the world or as a center in a multi-centered universe without a center. I mean, if you can get your head around that. But the point is, so life's a lot of things, and I think life just is. And it doesn't even need any explanation. It just is. You know, I know that's kind of Zen. And that life is pulsation. You know, it's an oscillation of up and down, and the point is just to get into it and just throw your life away doing it, doing the best life you can. And that's about it. Oh man, okay, well that wasn't too bad. We're like 20 some minutes over, and we've overcome the technical issues. And the thing is, a lot of what we talked about, it's been systematized. Let me say this. If we could have went longer, okay, we've been talking about problems. Probably the deeper topic to go in is about the nature of problems. How we view problems is part of it, you know, being conscious that we have something that we want to change in our organization or in ourselves. And then it's about, again, it's almost like Six Sigma, where you define a set of best practices, and then how do you institutionalize those in the organization, which really comes down to understanding the value of standardization. And the more, as leaders, you go down that path of standardization, you'll find that that is what liberates you. And where you have this rock solid reliability in your promises. That you've got marketing out there making promises on your behalf. You've got operations fulfilling those promises. And you have support operations, IT, HR, making sure that operations and marketing have everything they need to do fantastic work. But it all comes down to systems and processes. And the fact that you can get heart and spirit into those systems and that they're just not this cold thing. All right. I think we've covered a few miles. And I thank everybody, you know, for their time. I know everyone's busy and yeah, that's it. So thank you very much, everybody.